I sell insurance.
What a shock.
Do you have life insurance? Because if you do, you could always use a little more. Am I right or am I right or am I right?
Hello folks, it's Clinton Moss here with Gunnar Energy Services. We're continuing on today in our Pulling Back the Curtain series where we're going to be talking about well control, well intervention, and complex completion. Okay, so just last week I got a call to respond to a wild well here in Texas. And as I was driving to the location, of course, you never know how things are going to go. Typically, it's a surface intervention, but sometimes a relief well is required. So the first thing that went through my mind was, I wonder if there is a modern, accurate survey for the target well. And that's a primary consideration and one of the first things that comes to my mind whenever I get a call such as the one described. So folks, I'm going to go again to the virtual whiteboard and I'm going to explain to you why an accurate survey of the target well is paramount and why all you operators and service providers alike should keep in mind the primacy of having an accurate survey on every well that we drill. Let me show you how to take some cheap insurance, folks. Let's guard against the worst case scenario together.
Okay, here it is. We have a target well. We have a surface location. I'm just going to draw that target well tree right here. And I'll just draw its well path. Let's pretend it's a vertical well. Over here, I'll draw an offset well. Okay, and it's vertical as well in this particular case. Here I am at the edge of location, and I'm, anxiously awaiting to get called for the job. No, I'm just kidding. I hang it on location all the time, random locations looking for work. Okay, so I'm here. So I'm just joking around here. I'm illustrating that it's a section view, and let me remind everyone that if I don't have a survey on this or a poor quality survey, we have these huge ellipsoids of uncertainty. Okay, so let me just remind everyone that the position of the well path in space is not exactly where that well is. It could be somewhere in these ellipsoids. So I'll just clean that up. I just wanted to remind you of that. And now let's show the issue, the rub, if you will. If I want to drill a relief well because I have lost, this black well to a fire, let's say for example, and I spud in the rig over here, okay, here's the rig, and I'll draw this well path in blue. You can see that I have a couple issues here. First of all, I have anti-collision. And if I have a poor understanding of where that target well is, that offset well is, I could get two blowouts for the price of one. Now, we don't want that. I probably don't have, at the point where I encounter this well, a good enough surface shoe up here. Okay, so if I shut in on formation pressure from deep in this well, this shoe might not be able to hold it back. So what do you have to do? A bunch of ranging there for anti-collision work. So let me just clean the drawing up again. But more importantly, when I arrive down here, down on bottom, and I deploy my three-part ranging system where I'm going to inject current in the formation, now we have a major problem. Spaghetti-o. Current that is injected into formation, it will collect certainly on the target well, and I'll have this resulting magnetic field, okay? But what about the offset? Well, it's not entitled to remain current-free, or thought about the other way, I don't instruct the electrons to only collect on the target well over here, okay? The electrons, in fact, will find their way to this case wellbore, and we have signal associated with it. Okay, let's look at the problem appealing to first principles. I'm going to take a cross-section view of this, like down this way. And here's my eye, if you will, and I'm going to look down here, and I'll draw what we see. So remember, all these wells are more or less vertical. First, I'll draw over here on this side of the image the offset well. Then I'll draw over here the target well, and I've been using blue, so in the middle, I'll draw my probe. Okay, here it is. So we're looking from a bird's eye view down on these wells. Now this current, these elements of current that I drew here in blue, okay, each one that's flowing on the pipe, I'm going to draw them as arrows into the page. Here they are. And using my right hand rule now, I will take my thumb, point it into the plane, so you guys can point it into your screen, and you will see these magnetic field lines, and this field line will have that sense, and I'll draw these magnetic field lines. Okay, and this magnetic field line will have this sense. Houston, we have a problem. We have these field lines equal and opposite, or maybe they're not equal, but they're certainly an opposite sense with this symmetry that I've shown. Now, that's a worst case scenario where you're going to have cancellation of the field, etc., and going to have a convoluted attempt to interpret this data. But what is the real point that I'm trying to make? Current will flow on both pipes. You'll have signal from both pipes. These magnetic fields will, the vectors will sum and create some other field. And it is quite the task now for the ranging service provider to unravel all of this complexity. Now, what we would prefer is that if you had a very good survey on your target well and a very good survey on any offset wellbore, that we could just drill based on good survey management practices directly to the target, be certain that we are very close to the target, know that when we use our active ranging tool, the overwhelming signal will come from the target. So let's say, I've displaced this entire well, this blue profile, over to be right adjacent to the target. Now, the majority of the signal will come from the target wellbore, not from what I call this parasite or offset wellbore. So folks, moral of the story is this. Consider using comprehensive survey management practices. Ask your MWD service providers to give you their 6-axis data at the end of every run. Okay, that should be free. It's your data. You should be able to ask for it. Consider doing gyro surveys to further augment or fortify your survey management program. Consider gyroing old wells that aren't abandoned, but they're in your portfolio, so that you have a proper wellbore position in the event that there's some issue. And identify wells where no survey is possible, or you have a very poor survey, and understand that there's a risk associated with not having a modern, accurate, downhole 3-dimensional position of that wellbore in space.
Okay folks, so there you have it. Hopefully I've laid out the case of why you want to consider augmenting or revisiting your survey management program, or perhaps even enhancing it with additional surveys, for example, a gyro survey. So folks, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Please continue with your likes and clicks, and in particular, feel free to share this video with someone that you may know at an operator or other service company, so everyone can be aware of the benefit of really paying attention to good, comprehensive survey management practices. Thanks, folks. I'll see you all again real soon. It's Clinton Moss with Gunnar Energy Services.